You all are trying to impress people that don't care about you while being broke. In America, there's this weird epidemic of people living above their means for some reason because we have, as we all know, we have the excess of credit card use. As of I don't know, as of 2026 or something like that, there's now over $1 trillion worth of credit card debt, which is really sad to the point where we got to that point. Anyways, but now we have people, especially with how bad the economy is, we have people going well above their means and just being flat out reckless with their money. And I've never I even though I get jealous of people, honestly, I get jealous sometimes. I'm human. People go on these really nice vacations. They're going to like Bali or they're going to Japan. I'm like, damn, I wish I could go. But I also realize that there's one thing that I realize. At least I'm not in freaking debt. Even though I may not make a lot of money. Oh, I may live with my parents. Oh well. Hey, at least I don't. At least I'm not in credit card debt, right? I think a lot of people, especially I think the big thing with American culture that's really dragging a lot of us, like specifically Gen Z, down, is the fact that our parents and our grandparents lived crazy, amazing lives. The post World War II boom, they had everything handed to them. They lived relatively stress-free life except for Vietnam, which I'm not gonna downplay the Vietnam War was pretty horrific for that generation. I'm not gonna downplay that because I feel like a lot of people do, but for the ones that made it out, they lived pretty great lives because they lived. It was easier to support a family and without really working a crazy high-end job. Because back then you could work as a factory worker for 35 years, get a pension for life, and you could support a family of like seven or eight. That's what my grandpa did. 6 kids, one salary, and he's an electrician. My grandma didn't work. But now that's not gonna work. Do you really think that that's possible in this day and age, especially if you're not like you're a business owner? That's not gonna happen, right? And I think that a lot of people look at the past and they think, oh, I want to replicate that, which is for the most part not even possible. And it's not even their fault per se. Is the fact that everything's gotten so expensive with inflation. Number one, price gouging by corporations, and I think it's so easy to borrow money. Because now we have Klarna. We can buy now and pay later, which is not which you should never use Klarna. I'm sorry, but if you don't want to go into debt, just don't use Klarna. Like, is that even is there? Do I even need to explain why that's a bad idea to even attempt to do that? I understand if you're like going to debt for like a business or you're trying to like buy a house or college. I get that. But if you're going to debt just to get DoorDash orders, I mean, really, guys, like, come on now. And I think a big thing too is that people like want to, especially with influencer culture and with how everything's posted online. Now they want to humble brag and flex on people because a lot of times they're insecure about themselves. Number one, and number two, they just want to be better than people. It just is what it is. And I see it so many times on Twitter. I use Twitter a lot because I'm bored, and that's like my favorite social media, other than YouTube, obviously. But I see a lot of people like go on these crazy ass trips, and then they think, "Oh, I need some money. I need to pay for some money." And I'm just like, just be smarter. It's not that hard to like realize that, oh, I'm gonna go. I don't have money in bank. I'm gonna spend $3,000 in Klarna so I go to Japan. Like, really, guy? Like, it's crazy to me how no one people just lack common sense with money. And this is not a new thing either. There's always been people in every generation that's been bad with their money, whether it's just terrible spenders. Like, even doctors and lawyers are sometimes in debt or broke because they overspend because of lifestyle creep. It's not just a poor person thing. Anyone can fall victim to it. And I just think that I think these people just need to like realize where they're at in life. They don't you don't need to go on like exotic vacation every 6 months. You don't need to do it. You may it's more of it's a thing called wants and needs. You may want it, but do you really need it? Some may be like, yeah, you might need it for your mental health, but you should do it if you can afford it. Like if you save up money, you're paying your bills, you're saving up money, or if you live with your parents saving money, like go ahead and do it. But if you're going to debt for these like exotic vacations or going to debt for stuff you can't even afford, I feel like it's a very bad idea and it's not very smart on your end. Um, and the thing is so easy. It's so easy to get credit nowadays because remember when I was in college, I could not get credit whatsoever because I couldn't work a job. But now, if you work a full-time job, you can easily get credit cards and start stacking up that money, right? And it's so easy to fall victim to like credit card debt, and without realizing you're paying your way back, and it ruins your life. And then some people keep saying online about how what you should do is you pretty much file for bankruptcy. But what people don't realize about filing a bankruptcy over credit cards that like stays on your record for a little bit. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know the numbers, but I know it's at least 7 years. So imagine if you're like 35, want to buy a house, but you can't get loans because they saw you file for bankruptcy. So what can you do, right? And even if you're like 22, that stays on you until like you're 30, and you may want to move out of your parents or buy a house, but since that's on your record, you can't go anywhere, and it's just not a healthy thing. It's not a healthy mindset. There's also a mentality of some people that say, "Well, I'm not gonna live till I'm 70, so why does it matter?" And I think when you're younger, I thought the same way when I was like 17. Like, why does it matter when I'm like 30 years old or like 25? Well, I'm slowly approaching 25 years old, and I'm like, this shit matters more than I realized. Thank God I never was dumb with my money. Thank God I came broke a few times. Like I came close to $0 in my bank account like multiple times in college. But that's the big thing. But I've always made sure that I never went into debt for credit cards because it's just not something you really want to kind of ever get yourself into. And I guess what I'm trying to say is like if you're ever in credit card debt, just get a credit card and just cut it in half. Just cut them out because with any addiction, you'll be in denial, saying I don't have a problem, even though you may have like $4,000 in credit card debt. The easiest thing to do is that oh, got a problem. Don't even think about it. Just cut it up. Your credit cards, pay everything off, and start paying everything off. It may suck, obviously, but long term, you'll be thanking yourself later for sure. Because if you use credit to pay off credit card debt, it just keeps compounding, and it's not healthy at all. Um, so I guess what I'm trying to say is, even though your friend may make more money than you, or you want to show off to people, think long term, right? It's so hard. It's easy to be nihilistic and say, "Oh, I'm not getting Social Security. I'm gonna be working for the rest of my life, so why should I care?" But maybe when you get older, may have a family, and you're in debt, you're gonna be like, "Oh shit, I wish I would have been smarter about my money," because people would change. There's a theory that people change every 7 years, right? And every 7 years, your personality kind of changes for the better or for the worse. So I feel like maybe you now versus 10 years later might be a completely different person because I was way different when I was 10 years ago because I was like 14 years old and I was a lot more I don't know more reserved than I am now. But life will shape you to do different things, and I think that you should probably take into consideration of what you want out of your life. And that's all I have to say about that. So, thank you, and I'll see you soon.